In the age of large language models, why would we ever buy software again? And why on earth would any of us use open source libraries? These are not rhetorical questions. They're the ones we've been asking ourselves for quite some time now at Container Solutions. They're the questions that your architecture team should probably be asking right now as well, but most of them aren't. So the question that we're going to ask and answer today is open source dead? And if not, when should you use it instead of relying on a large language model to help you generate the systems you need? To understand all of this, we have to go back to the old deal. What was the old deal? The old deal was all about using other people's libraries and components or open source tools because writing software was expensive. Security was an afterthought if it was even a thought at all. If someone had already solved the problem, you used their software. In many ways then, the effort was outsourced to the community. We got free upgrades, we got extra functionality that we hadn't even imagined, and so 12 months before a problem on our project became a problem, somebody else had already solved it for us. And so for a while, we were all involved in this wonderful community effort where we contributed and received. But in many ways, this was a Faustian bargain. Why? Because barely understood dependencies, we grabbed them to finish our project, and we did so because it was cheaper and it was quicker. That was the deal. These days, though, most software projects have got thousands upon thousands of NPM dependencies. Many of those dependencies you've never heard of. Go module files are longer than the source code itself. And Mephistopheles has now arrived to take his due. Your dependencies, my dependencies, all the dependencies of the banks and insurance companies out there are scanned by crackers and hackers and thieves and auditors. And when a widely used library has a flaw discovered, and most of them do eventually, millions of engineers drop what they're doing to start to manage patches. Now, let me give you 3 examples. These are not hypothetical ones. 2016, LeftPad, 11 lines of code withdrawn from NPM. Widespread panic across the industry. 2018, EventStream, a supply chain attack. Somebody, a hacker, somebody naughty, somebody embedded code designed to steal Bitcoin wallets from a specific downstream application. It was in production for 2 months before anybody noticed. 2022, faker.js. The maintainer stopped caring, upgraded the library with garbage. These are not bugs. If you're using this software, they're organisational failures. The maintainer disappears. The maintainer is compromised. The maintainer becomes exhausted and burnt out from all the requests put upon them. The maintainer, it's possible, turns hostile. A transitive dependency changes things upstream. The ecosystem is shifting all around us. We inherit those risks every time we type in npm install. But something else has now happened because we used to get something in return, but the calculus has now changed. This is what most people haven't realised. 2 things related have happened simultaneously. First of all, writing code got cheaper. Not marginally cheaper, dramatically cheaper. AI code generation has made bespoke functionality significantly cheaper to produce than it was 5 years ago. At the same time, because of all these dependencies, using libraries got more expensive. Not marginally more expensive, but structurally so, and massively, which is of course why we invented our compliance framework in order to keep on top of all these different constraints to make that cheaper. Every new dependency in a compliance-heavy environment involves immense bureaucratic effort and expense to approve. When a flaw is found, each alert becomes like a punch to the face. Triage is not free. Audit queries are not free. Patch windows are not free. So the old mental model was this: npm install is free. The new mental model is every dependency, and this is the key term here, every dependency is a recurring obligation. The calculus, therefore, behind software delivery has radically altered. Most people don't quite realise this. So let's just pause for 1 second and consider the case for bespoke software. What does it give us? And could it be an appropriate way forward for you? Well, first of all, it's private. An internal library that you throw together using an LLM will not appear in external code scanners. It will not appear in your software bill of materials. It removes the externally visible surface or attack surface entirely. We are not at risk of maintainer compromise. There's no dependency confusion, no abandoned packages, and there's no weird surprise transitive upgrades from a project that we forgot we were using. Sounds pretty amazing, right? It's crafted for purpose, so it's right-sized. It does what you need and no more. There is no attack surface, and there is no accumulation of secondary dependencies that nobody ever asked for. And because of modern LLM tooling, this software is cheaper to update than before, and it's easy to check security flaws locally at the fraction of a cost of a traditional security review. Now, this is not fantasy. We've seen loads of cases already where a company needed a piece of software, they re-implemented it with an LLM, it was faster to build, private, auditable, and there was no external exposure. This is happening out there right now. What are we doing then at Container Solutions? What are we advising our customers? Well, we can think of this as a sort of decision framework. And what are the decision criteria? Use a library when the domain is security sensitive or genuinely difficult to code correctly. Make sure the library is mature and reviewed and well supported. It shouldn't have too many transitive dependencies. Write your own when you only need a small subset of a large library. We've seen this happen loads of times already. The functions are simple and easy to specify. The approval and vulnerability management costs are high, and the code can be exhaustively tested. This isn't a manifesto against open source code. For us, it's a recalibration. Don't reinvent the wheel was once a great piece of advice. I lived by this advice for many, many years. Wheels were expensive to make, not to mention risky, but now they are not. We need to now work out a different set of constraints, the risks and the rewards of using dependencies, and the risks and rewards of writing bespoke software, which was such a big no-no for so long. But all of a sudden, with large language models and their ability to code, it no longer is. Thanks for listening today, you lot. Please like or subscribe if you'd like these videos to drop directly into your inbox. Click around the YouTube channel if you'd like to find out how Adrian was beaten by an LLM.